Hello and welcome to a new episode of Mostly Engineering, and let's continue with our electronics toolbox. So, welcome back to the electronics toolbox, and I know it has been quite a while since the last video, but as the saying goes, a one-day build usually takes longer than a day, and in this case, we are really at nearly a year now, and yeah, sometimes it just happens. In this instance, I laser cut the parts we need already half a year ago, or even more than half a year ago. And then other projects came in that had higher priorities because they pay the rent. And so I didn't have time. And over time, you have to do other things before you can really start again. In this case, clean up the balcony. That was a complete mess because we need the space in order to spray paint and primer the wood, because this is something where we really need open, fresh air in order to work okay. And then I need the lathe, and the lathe was on a project, and so I have to reinstall the lathe, the whole lathe station. And this is a bit of a hassle because it takes half a day, turns the whole flat into utter chaos. But luckily everything is done now, the balcony is clean, and I reinstall the lathe, and I ask myself, why didn't I do it earlier, because it feels really nice to have this machine back. And so we can start. And in this video I want to get the box finished, at least functional finished, because there's a high chance I need it very soon. And the aesthetic part, this will probably be our video. So I want to get it finished, so let's take a look at the parts and see where we go from there. So, and here we have our laser cut parts, and as you can see, this is quite the puzzle. And also I pre-painted all the parts that will be visible, because when this thing is assembled there are lots of areas that will be really hard to reach with the spray can. And even so, when this is assembled, we are going to fine up all these connection points so that we don't really see the telltale signs of laser cut construction. It looks a little bit nicer, and then we have to spray paint it again, but the pre-painting will make this job a lot easier. Now the interesting question is how everything fits together, and this part and this part, they go in like so. And yeah, this is really tight, so this thing probably holds up forever even without glue. But let's see how everything fits, and then how we can fit it in the sustainer if you have to send it somewhere, or if everything works out nicely. So, and as you can see, the box is fitted, worked out more or less effortless. A little bit of sanding on this side, and then on the lid I had to take out these two ribs so that the lid can actually close, because those two notches over here that were intended for this purpose are actually a little bit too small. But apart from this, everything fits really nice and tight, as you can see. And I couldn't resist to put in most of the stuff already. And also this sits nice and tight, so that we need a little bit of pressure to move it out. And therefore these things, when the box is closed and thrown into the back of a van, nothing can move in here. Really nice. The screwdrivers are held in by magnets beneath. That's also the reason why they're sometimes hard to stand up straight, but who needs this in the end? What we need to do now is lift everything out again, then give it a nice coat of paint, cut a notch for the cable in here, cut a hole for the USB ports in the front, and then do the lid where we will store all our cables, the soldering iron, and so on and so forth. So let's get through it. So our bottom part is nearly done, and it looks rather nicely if you ask me. Only thing left to do here is install the holder for our lighter, and then probably glue some plastic board in here so that we get a pocket for all the instructions. And then it's onto the lid, and herefore I already laser cut this piece of styrene, and here where you see all the holes, we will saw a piece of rubber band to it, and this will create the pockets for all our cables. And on this side I made this 3D printed holder, and our OmniFixer plate clicks in here. It sits in by frictions and the magnets on the back. And then we cut a little bit of brass tubing to length, and this will give us room over here to store our soldering iron and the replacement tips. So let's do that. So, and here we have our box now with the lid fixed, and you see this looks really nice. I haven't fixed the rubber bands yet, because the first question now is, does the lid still close? And if we do so, we see, or unfortunately you can't see it, but here we have some problems. Lid doesn't close for, it stops probably about 1 centimeter short of it. And let's see, yeah, the thing I kind of suspected that I didn't take into account, that our roll of soldering iron is proud of this whole arrangement, and now the soldering iron and the solder collide, and that's why we can't close it. And if he just takes the solder out, in theory now the lid should close with no problem, and it does. Very nice. So what are we going to do? We definitely need the solder, so this is no question. But what I think I do is we simply take this out, and then we cut this lid here and replace it with a new lid that is 1 centimeter lower, and therefore we can put this whole arrangement 1 centimeter lower, and then we can close the lid. So let's get everything in here in paint, saw the rubber bands, sort this thing out, and then I see you back with the finishing touches. So, and our box is finally finished, and I have to say I'm really happy with the result. Now all the electronics tools are stored in a way that I can see everything at one glance. Everything is really easy accessible. Everything has its fixed place. So really nice. And as you can see here, we still have room to grow. Also very important. Of course, in the end, not everything worked as planned. So with the elastics, for example, to be honest, one band in the middle would have been enough, and I should have taken white thread instead of orange. On the one hand, I really like this color combination, but on the other hand, it shows a little bit that my sewing skills are a little bit mediocre. And also in this area, I originally planned to store the USB light in here, but this actually doesn't fit. But on the other hand, this light is a little bit shit, and not having it isn't really that much of a loss. And the other little setback is that we had to put this arrangement here a little bit lower in order to close the lid, and this works now really nicely. But this also means that this sits in now much tighter, and removing it is now a two-hand operation. But below it is only the soldering pump, and yeah, if you need it, it's an incredibly useful tool to have. But this if case, in the last 3 years, it happens maybe 2 times to me, so I'm fine with the fact that getting to the soldering pump is now a little bit of a hassle, while the rest is all really easy accessible. And on this nice note, it's time to end the show. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, comments, as always, let them down below, and I try to answer them as quickly and correctly as possible. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's just a click for you, but it helps the channel a lot. And all that's left to say now is thanks for watching and see you guys the next time. Bye bye.